Hey everyone, HD here. In this video we're gonna start with this and turn it into this giant alien orb using the material system in Unreal Engine 5. Fully customizable and ready to create tons of variations. So let's do it. The material color. So let's hide these spheres and create a new material. Let's name it M_Alien Orb _1 and open it. Let's start by creating the base color. So hold V and click 2 times to create 2 vector 3s. I'll name this one color 1 and this one color 2. Let's set color 2 to white to start with. I want to layer between them, so hold L and click to add a layer. Connect the color 1 to the A input and color 2 to the B input. And let's connect the layer to the base color. Let's start with something simple for the alpha. Add a vertex normal. Drag out of it and search for component mask. Let's add it. I'm gonna only mask the B channel, so let's disable these two and enable this one, and let's connect it to the alpha. Now we have white on the top and black on the bottom. I think it's a good time to tell you that I have a material nodes playlist on my channel, so if you don't know any of the nodes I use in this video, check it out. I'll put the link in the description below. Let's add some parameters to control how this mask looks. Hold A and click to add an add node, and hold M and click to add a multiply node. Connect them like this, and for the add, hold S and click to add a parameter. Let's name it color mask offset, and the default value of 0 is fine. Connect it to the B input of the add node. Press Ctrl D to duplicate it, and let's name it color mask sharpness. Set the default value to 1 and connect it to the multiply node. Now before connecting this to the alpha input, let's add a saturate node and connect it like this. Save the material and create a material instance from it. Add a sphere to the level and let's set it to a large scale like 25. Move it up here like this and assign the material instance to it. Open the material instance and let's bring it here. Now we can control the placement of the mask with the offset parameter, and we can control its sharpness with the sharpness parameter. We can also change the colors. Let's reset all the parameters and go back to the material. I want to organize the parameters from the start, so let's bring it down. Select all the parameters and set their group to base color. Save the material, open the material instance, and now the parameters are organized in the material instance. Let's change the base color to a capital B. So here change it like this, save the material, and it's fixed. Next I want to add animation to the colors. So add a linear gradient. Here it is. Let's preview it. It's just a gradient that goes from 0 to 1. So hold M and click to add a multiply node, drag out of the U gradient and connect it to the A input of the multiply. Add a sine node and connect the multiply node to it. And now if I preview the sign node and change the B value of the multiply node, we can control the number of stripes created by the sign. Now we can animate these stripes using the time node. So hold U and click to add a texture coordinate node, add a time node, hold A and click to add an add node and connect them like this. Connect the add to the UV input of the linear gradient. Now the stripes start moving in the U direction. That's because we're using the U gradient output of the linear gradient. So if we use the V gradient, it looks like this. It moves in the V direction. But I'm gonna use the U gradient, so connect it like this. Now I want to control the speed of the animation. So hold M and click to add a multiply node, hold S and click to add a scalar parameter, and I'm gonna name it color speed. Default value of 0 is fine. Connect them like this and connect the multiply node instead of the time node to the add node. Now I can control the color speed with this parameter. For example, if I set it to 0.1, 0.5, 1, 2, 3, and that's how we can control it. So let's set it to 0 for now and continue. Now we're still not using these nodes in the material. So let's move all of the nodes to the left to make some room. And again, move these two vector parameters to make some room here as well. Hold L and click to add two lerps. Connect the sign node. Let's first stop the preview. Connect the sign node to both of the lerps to the alpha input. And for the first lerp, I'm gonna use color 1 as the A input and color 2 as the B input. And for the second lerp, I'm gonna use color 1 as the B input and color 2 as the A input. Now let's connect these two lerps to the main lerp like this. And move the nodes here. And let's set the preview mesh to sphere to better see it. This is how it looks like now. Now let's add a parameter to control the number of the stripes created by the sign. So hold S and click to add a parameter. Let's name it color stripes. Set the default value to 2 and connect it like this. I'm also gonna set the group to base color. And let's do that also for this one. Save the material and let's check it in the level. This is what happens if I set the color stripes to a high number like 10 or 20, and we can add a little bit of speed to it. For example, 0.05 or 0.1. Right now it's too clean. Let's add some noise to it. Before that, let's use named reroutes to avoid cluttering the material. So first let's drag out of the saturate node, add a named reroute, and I'm gonna name it color alpha 1. Right click and add it up here, and let's connect it to the alpha input. Let's also drag out of the sign node, search for named reroute. I'm gonna name this one color alpha 2, and let's add it up here and connect it like this, or just the one is enough. Let's also add a named reroute for the base color. Save the material and let's continue. add the noise node and connect it to the base color. I want to better see how it looks, so I'm gonna set the scale to 0.005, the function to fast gradient 3D texture, and the rest are fine. So save the material, and here's how it looks. The noise node works in world space, so we can even use it on objects which are not unwrapped. And we can see that when we move the object, the noise is projected in the world and the object is moving through it. So let's get back in the material. First connect the base color and move the noise here. Let's make some room and move the noise. Now we can add the noise and the sign. So hold A and click to add an add node. Connect the noise to the A input and the sign to the B input. And let's first saturate the result and then connect it to the color alpha 2. Now let's add some parameters to be able to control the size of the noise from the material instance. So first select the noise, set the scale back to 1, and here we can use a world position node to do that. So let's add it. Hold D and click to add a divide node, connect them like this, and connect the divide to the world position input of the noise. Now here we could use a multiply node instead of the divide, and it would be a little more performant, but I mostly use divide to control the size. Hold S and click to add a scalar parameter, and I'm gonna name it color noise size. Set the default value to 1 and connect it like this. Now here let's move the world position node, hold M and click to add a multiply node, connect them like this and set the B value to 0.01. World position is in centimeters, so 1 unit equals 1 centimeter. It's too small. Multiplying it by 0.01 brings it up to meters, and now 1 unit equals 1 meter, which is easier to work with. So let's set the group of this new parameter to base color and save the material. Here's the result. And we can control the noise size by this parameter. For example, let's set it to 2 or 3. I have misspelled noise, so let's get back here. Save the material, and now it's better. Now we need one more parameter, and that's to control the sharpness of the stripes coming out of the sign node. So let's move these here, drag out of the sign, search for multiply and add it. Duplicate this parameter, let's name it color stripes sharpness, set the default value to 1 and connect it like this. Then connect the multiply to the add node like this. Now let's preview the multiply node, set it to the plane, set the color stripes to 10 for now, and make sure auto exposure is off. I want to show you how this parameter works. So for example, if I set it to 2 or 3 or 4, this is what happens. And if I decrease it to 0.6, 0.4 or 0.2, this is what happens. So let's set it back to 1 and set this one to 2. Stop the preview and save the material. Now in the level, let's open the material instance. I'm gonna decrease the color stripes sharpness to 0.25 and increase the color speed to 0.2. And here's the result. Actually, let's reset all the parameters. I'm gonna increase the color noise size to 5. Set the color stripes sharpness to 0.25. I want color 1 to be a dark blue. And color 2 to be a dark red. Let's increase the color mask offset a little bit. 0.2 is fine. And let's increase the speed to 0.2. Yeah, now that's enough for the base color. Let's get back in the material. Save the material instance, bring it down, select all these nodes, press C to add a comment. Let's name it base color and enable show bubble when zoomed. Save the material, and in the next section I'm gonna add some parameters for the metallic and the roughness. Metallic and roughness. Let's add some parameters to control the metallic and roughness. So down here, hold S and click to add a parameter, and let's name it metallic. The default value of 0 is fine. Now for the roughness, I'm gonna use the color alpha 2 we created here. So let's add the named reroute. I want to be able to control the minimum and maximum roughness, and we can use the remap value range function for that. So drag out of color alpha 2, search for remap value range, and here it is. Let's add it. Now color alpha 2 is between 0 and 1 because we used a saturate up here. So we don't need to change the input low and input high because their default values are 0 and 1. But we need to change the target low and target high to be able to control the minimum and maximum roughness. So hold S and click to add 2 parameters. I'm gonna name this one roughness mean, and this one roughness max. Let's set the default value of roughness max to 1 and connect roughness mean to target low and roughness max to target high. And this is how we're gonna control the roughness range. So let's add 2 named reroutes here. This one will be metallic, and let's duplicate it down here by pressing Ctrl D, and this one will be roughness. Let's also select all these parameters, set their group to metallic and roughness, and let's set the sort priority of metallic to 1, roughness mean to 2, and roughness max to 3. Now add the named reroutes here and connect them. Save the material, and let's open the material instance. I'm gonna set the color speed to 0 for that. Open this section, and as you can see, the parameters are ordered based on their priority. So let's enable all of them. I'll set metallic to 1, roughness mean to 0.5, and roughness max to 0.7. And now let's set the color speed back to 0.2, and this is the result. Next, I'm gonna work on the emissive color. But before that, if you're finding this helpful, like the video and subscribe. You can get early access to videos and download the tutorial project files, including the project file of this video, by becoming a supporter on Patreon. And if you want to stay connected, join our Telegram and Discord communities. All the links are in the description. Emissive color. We're gonna have two layers in the emissive color. First we'll create this animated checker grid pattern. Then we're gonna create this pulsing noise texture. And finally we're gonna combine them to create the whole effect. So let's first select these nodes, press C to add a comment, and let's name it metallic and roughness. Enable show bubble when zoomed. Now from the base color nodes, let's select the linear gradient and all the nodes before it. Let's also select this multiply and the parameter. Press Ctrl D to duplicate them down here. Let's rename this parameter to emissive stripes and this parameter to emissive stripes speed. So select both of them and let's set the group to emissive color. I want to use both the U gradient and the V gradient. So duplicate the multiply node and connect the V gradient to it. We should connect the same scalar parameter to the B input of both multiply nodes. So let's do that. Add a sign after both of them. And again add a multiply node after both the sign nodes to control the sharpness. So let's select these two, press Ctrl D to duplicate them. Connect them like this. Now duplicate this parameter. And let's name it emissive stripes sharpness. Set the default value to 1 and connect it to the B input of both the multiply nodes. Now let's set the emissive stripes to something like 10 and preview both the multiply nodes. This is what comes out of the U gradient. And this is what comes out of the V gradient, and if we multiply them together we're gonna have a grid. So let's first stop previewing this one, hold M and click to add a multiply node, connect them like this, and let's preview this one now, and here's the result. Let's also add a saturate node, preview this one, and now we can use this parameter to control how it looks. For example, this is how it looks if I set it to 1, 2, 5, 10, 100. Let's zoom in. Here's how it looks. Let's set it to 10 for now. And we can control the sharpness with this one. We can increase it to have something like this or decrease it to have something like this. So let's back to their default values. This one is 2 and this one is 1. Stop the preview on this one. And this was the checker grid pattern. Now let's continue. Now for the pulsing noise, I'm gonna use this Voronoi noise texture. You could use any noise texture you want or even use the noise node in the material like we used in the base color. So let's add it in the material. Right click and convert it to a parameter. I'm gonna name it emissive noise texture and set the group to emissive color. Let's also select all these parameters, and I've already set their group to emissive color, so that's okay. Hold P and click to add a panel node and connect it to the UV's input of the texture. Now we need two parameters to control its speed both in the X and the Y axis. So hold S and click 2 times to add two parameters. I'm gonna name this one emissive noise speed X or U. I'm gonna name it U. And I'm gonna name this one emissive noise speed V. Now we should use an append vector node to combine them and create a vector 2, and let's connect it to the speed input of the panel. Hold U and click to add a texture coordinate node. Hold D and click to add a divide node. Connect them like this and connect the divide to the coordinate node of the panel. Duplicate one of these parameters and let's name it emissive noise size. Set the default value to 1 and connect it to the B input of the divide. Select all these parameters and let's set their group to emissive color. Now let's add the pulsing effect. So add a time node and a sign node. Let's preview the sign. We can already see the pulsing effect. So let's stop the preview. Hold M and click to add a multiply node. Connect it like this and hold S and click to add a scalar parameter. I'm gonna name it emissive noise pulsing speed. This one will control the speed of the pulsing effect. Connect it like this. Now the output of the sign is between -1 and 1. Let's bring it to 0 and 1, and it's as easy as adding 1 to it and then multiplying it by 0.5. So we add it by 1 and it becomes between 0 and 2, and then we multiply it by 0.5 and it becomes in the 0 and 1 range. Now let's select all of these, press Q to move them, press Q to organize them better, and now we can multiply these two to combine them. So let's add a multiply node, connect them, and now if we start previewing the node, this is the result. Let's set the speed to 1. Yeah, that's better. Now let's set the group of this parameter to emissive color also and stop this preview. Now we should multiply the grid pattern and this pulsing noise texture to combine them. So hold M and click to add a multiply node, connect them like this. Now we need 2 more parameters, one to control the emissive color and one to control the emissive intensity. So hold M and click to add 2 more multiply nodes. Hold V and click to add a vector parameter. I'm gonna name it emissive color and set the default value to white. Connect it to the first multiply node. Hold S and click to add a scalar parameter. I'm gonna name this one emissive intensity. Set the default value to 1 and connect it like this. Select both of them, set their group to emissive color. Now drag out of the last multiply node, search for named reroute, and I'm gonna name this emissive color. Select all these nodes, press C to add a comment, name it, and let's enable show bubble when zoomed. Add the named reroute of the emissive color here and connect it to the main material node. Save the material and let's check it in the level. Now here are emissive color parameters. Let's enable all of them. I'm gonna set the emissive color to pure red and the intensity to 100. Let's set the emissive noise pulsing speed to 0.2. Increase the emissive stripes to 100. Let's also decrease the stripe sharpness to 0.3. Now let's add animation to the noise and the stripes. I'm gonna set the emissive noise speed U to 0.03, emissive noise speed V to 0.06, and the emissive stripes speed to 0.02. Yeah. Now these are some values I've tested before and look good. Feel free to try different values to get different results. If we increase the size of the emissive noise texture, for example to 1.5, we get this weird seam. The one we're getting right here. And if we decrease it like this, we also get the seam. The only times we don't get it is when we set the size to values like 1 divided by 2, 1 divided by 3, 1 divided by 4, and so on. It's because of the way the sphere is unwrapped and the way the texture tiles. So if you see this kind of issue, that's the reason. Let's set it back to 1 and continue. Next, I'm gonna add world position offset to the material. Before we get to the next section, let me quickly show you my Gumroad page. Here I put ready-made materials and procedural toolsets built to speed up your Unreal projects and help you create stunning scenes. Check out the Gumroad link in the description below. World position offset. I'm gonna add 4 types of movement animation to the material and then combine them. Up and down movement animation, heartbeat animation, squeezing animation, and circular motion animation. Let's start with the up and down movement. Let's move these nodes here and move the emissive color nodes up here. We're gonna add the world position offset nodes here. So add the time node, connect it to a multiply node, and then to a sine node. Hold this and click to add a scalar parameter, and let's name it up and down speed. The default value of 0 is fine. Now we should bring the sine values between 0 and 1. So let's add an add node and a multiply node, and let's set the b value of the multiply to 0.5. Now that it's between 0 and 1, we can multiply it by another parameter to control the movement range. So hold M and click to add a multiply node, connect it, and hold this and click to add a scalar parameter. I'll name it up and down max range. The default value of 0 is fine, and connect it. Add an append many node and connect this one to the B input because we want to move it in the Z axis. Hold 1 and click to add a constant, set it to 0 and connect it to the R and the G inputs. I want to make sure that it doesn't move in the X and the Y axis. Drag out of the RGB output and let's add a named rewrapped. I'm gonna name it WPO1. Select these parameters, set their group to WPO for world position offset, and now let's add the WPO1 named route here and connect it to the world position offset input. Save the material and let's check it in the level. Open the material instance. Here are the parameters. Let's enable them. Now we can change the up and down speed to something like 0.5 and the up and down max range to something like 500 for 5 meter, and as you can see it starts moving up and down. Yeah, and we can tweak these parameters to change the range or the speed. Yeah, I'll set the max range to 500 and the speed to 0.2. And here's the result. Let's make it full screen. Yeah. Now let's get back to the material. Now select all these nodes except the append many node and duplicate them down here. Let's change the parameter names to heartbeat. I don't want to bring the sign values in the 0 to 1 range, so let's delete these two nodes and connect the sign straight to this multiply node. Now let's move them down a little bit, add a vertex normal node, hold M and click to add a multiply node and connect them like this. Now this one I'm gonna add a named reroute and name it WPO2. These nodes control the heartbeat, so let's go here, delete this one and connect WPO2. Connect it to the work position offset input and save the material. Open the material instance, enable them, and now we can increase the speed to something like, again, 0.5 and the range to 200, and this is the heartbeat animation. So now we can increase or decrease the range, and we can increase or decrease the speed. Let's set the speed to 0.5 and the range to 20 or 200. Yeah. And here's the result. Let's again make it full screen. Yeah. And let's get back in the material. Delete this one. And for the squeezing effect, I'm gonna use the same nodes as the heartbeat animation. So let's select all these nodes and duplicate them down here. I'm gonna name this one WPO3. I want to squeeze it in the z-axis, so we should add two nodes. First, I'm gonna add a component mask node after the vertex normal node, and I'm gonna mask the B channel. Then, before connecting it to the named route, I'm gonna add the append many node and connect the multiply node to the B input. And again, drag out of the RGB output and connect it to the named reroute. Hold 1 and click to add a constant. Set it to 0 and connect it to the R and the G inputs, and let's add the named reroute here and connect it to the work position offset input. Save the material and let's check it. In the material instance, I didn't rename the parameters, so let's get back in the material. We should name this one squeezing speed, and this one squeezing max range. And let's fix the name of this one to beat. Save the material and open the material instance. Enable the parameters. And let's set the speed to 1 and the range to 300. And here's the result. Again, we can change the range, for example, to 100 or change the speed, for example to 3. Yeah, let's set it to 1, this one to 300, and let's set the speed to 0.1. That's too little. Let's set it to 0.5. Save it, and here's the result. In the sine and cosine video, we went over creating a bouncing ball that moves on a circle. We know that this formula can give us a circular motion. So let's implement it in our material. I'm gonna add the circular motion here, next to the up and down movement. So again, let's select all these nodes and duplicate them up here. I don't want to bring the values in the 0 and 1 range, so let's delete these nodes. Connect them like this. So I'm gonna rename this parameter to circular motion speed, and let's copy this part and change this name to circular motion radius. Okay, now this is the sine of time, so we should connect it to the G input of the append menu to control the Y movement. And let's add a cosine node, connect the multiply, and duplicate this multiply node, connect it like this. I'm gonna use the same radius parameter, so let's connect it and then connect it to the R input of the append menu to control the X movement. And we don't need the constant anymore, so let's delete it. Move them here. Now let's again connect WPO1 to the world position offset input and save the material. Now in the material instance, I'm gonna reset the values of the up and down max range and up and down speed to their default values, so it doesn't move. And then I'm gonna set the motion radius or motion speed to 0.3 and the motion radius to 300 or 600. Yeah, and now as you can see, it's moving on a circle. That's good. Let's bring down the speed to 0.1. And now let's set the up and down max range to 500 and up and down speed to 0.2. Now the sphere moves up and down on a circle. Yeah. Let's get back in the material. Delete this one. Now we should add these different movements with each other to have them all at the same time. So add their named reroutes here. Hold A and click to add two add nodes. Add them like this. And drag out of this one, search for named reroute, and let's name it WPO main. Add the named reroute here, connect it to the main node, select all these nodes, press C to add a comment, and let's name it WPO. I'm gonna enable show bubble when zoomed. Save the material, and now we can tweak these parameters to control which animation we want the sphere to have. For example, I spent some time and made these different variations. This one moves on a circle and squeezes. This one has a heartbeat and moves up and down. And this one squeezes and has a heartbeat. If you like these kinds of videos, head over to my Patreon where you can get early access to videos for $1 a month. So that's it. Click here for more Unreal stuff and thank you so much for watching. Massive shout out to my amazing supporters for making this possible. Like this video, subscribe and join our communities. If you have any questions, leave them in the comment section below. So, see you in the next one.